Welcome to Red-tastic. Story 1. I'm 17 male, and this is about my relationship with my mom, my grandparents, on my dad's side, and the whole messy situation that's unfolding. I've spent my entire life thinking one thing, but it turns out I was in the dark about a lot of what was really going on. Here's the backstory. When I was 3 years old, my mom left me with my dad's parents, my grandparents, to move across the country with her high school love and his 2 kids. I barely saw her growing up, usually just during the summer or holidays. Even during those times, it didn't feel like she genuinely wanted to spend time with me. It felt like I was just there to babysit my step and half-siblings so she could do her own thing. My mom and I never had much of a bond. Meanwhile, my grandparents did everything for me, raised me, gave me a stable home, and made sure I was provided for. I've recently learned that my grandparents have had legal custody of me since I was 7. No one ever told me this growing up. I just assumed my mom was too busy or couldn't take care of me for whatever reason. Turns out she was actually obligated to pay child support to my grandparents, and she never did. Now that I'm almost 18, my grandparents want to sue her for back child support and put that in a fund for me. And from what they've told me, the amount owed is well over $100,000. As you can imagine, my mom isn't happy about this. She called me a few days ago, begging me to convince my grandparents not to sue. She said it's unfair and that this would ruin her life financially. She's trying to persuade me into taking her side, saying that I should take the high road and not allow this to happen because it will cause drama and upset the family being her husband and their kids. I'm not a part of this family, of course. She keeps saying that she did the best she could for me, even though she wasn't there. She also claims that if she's forced to pay, my step and half-siblings, who are still minors, will suffer, as it would take away resources from them. Well, I don't buy it, nor do I care. She did the bare minimum by calling me once in a while or taking me in for summers. But she was never really a parent. My grandparents are the ones who raised me, provided for me, and gave me everything I needed. They deserve that support. My mom is acting like I'm the bad guy for not stepping up, but the reality is she's avoided responsibility for years. And now it's catching up to her. I'm also feeling really down because I never knew my grandparents had custody of me. It was never something that was talked about, and I'm wondering if it's something that was done to protect me from the reality that my mom just didn't want to take care of me. I don't know if that's true, but it's been weighing on me heavily since I found out. It's hard enough being barely an adult and dealing with stuff in my own life. But now my mom wants me to fix her problems too. I've talked to my grandparents about it, and they are firm in wanting to pursue the child support. They feel like since my mom never bothered to raise me, it's only fair that my mom at least contributes what she should have to financially secure my future. They also state firmly that they don't care what happens to her stepkids or her other kids, and if they go broke, let them. Edit. No, I do not plan on going to college, but I plan on getting a diploma and starting work in about 2 years. There's a field I'm interested in. Edit 2. My mom owed them about $1,200 in child support, and over the years she has got various promotions as well, so we are looking at about $125 to $140K, which is a lot of money. Update. Yesterday, I found my mom at my grandparents' door. She flew in from across the country without telling anyone she was coming. She said she needed to talk about the $100,000 in child support that my grandparents are going after. I wasn't ready for this whatsoever, but I had no choice but to take part in this discussion. She started off by saying she simply can't afford to pay what she owes. She explained that she and her husband have a mortgage, 4 kids to feed, and their own futures to secure. She claimed that paying upwards $100,000 would ruin her financially and wreck their family's future. She kept repeating that it was unfair to expect her to cough up that much money when she already has a family to take care of. She was blaming everyone, me, my grandparents, my late dad, for trying to ruin her life. She kept saying we didn't understand the pressure she's under and that this matter could even put her marriage in jeopardy. I mean, I get it and all, but she had me, and as such, she has an obligation to me. My grandparents raised me and provided for me all these years while she barely contributed. They had to deal with everything while she built a new life. Now she can't just come back after like 15 years and sit in our living room, basically trying to guilt me into convincing my grandparents to drop the case. She kept turning to me and saying things like, "You know I did the best I could," and "This will destroy everything we've built." But my grandparents were having none of it. They simply said that she's had 15 years to redeem herself, and she chose not to. They told her that they don't care about her new life nor family, it's about making things right for me. My grandpa calmly explained that if she completely checked out of being a parent to me, then she should at least try to make up by providing for me financially. My grandma was more emotional, saying they did what they could for me because someone had to. But she still needs to remind herself that I'm her child. My mom didn't take it well. She got angry, saying that we were all trying to destroy her family and that we didn't understand how hard it is to raise 4 kids. She said the mortgage payments alone are killing them, and there is no way they could handle $100,000 on top of that. She started blaming my grandparents for holding a grudge, saying they should have just talked to her instead of letting it get to this point. I didn't say much during the confrontation because half the time I didn't even know what they were talking about. But my mom kept turning to me, trying to get me to back her up, saying, "Don't you see what this will do to your siblings?" I just kept shrugging. In the end, my grandparents told her the lawsuit is happening and is up to the courts now. My mom stormed off, saying it would be a cold day in hell if they managed to get a dime from her. I'm drained. And I feel really terrified that she'd get out of this somehow and my grandparents would end up wasting a lot of money on lawyers. Should I convince them not to do this? Final update. It's been nearly 2 years since I last posted. I wanted to give a final update to everyone. First off, my grandparents won the case. The court ruled in their favor and my mom was ordered to pay $176,000 in back child support, including 10% accrued interest. I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting the total amount to be that high. But the judge was not happy with my mom's attitude towards her complete disregard of her financial obligations. Since the ruling, we've received about $30,000. Most of it has come from wage garnishments, her tax refunds, and bonuses from her job, all of which just ended up with IRS, and eventually me. It's kind of surreal to watch this play out because for most of my life, she avoided any responsibility. And now there's no more running from it. The last time we were in court, which was about 9 months ago, my mom actually looked me in the eye and said, "You were the biggest mistake of my life." I kept my cool and told her, "The thing about mistakes is that you have to pay for them." And with that, I walked away. Since then, I've been cut off from her completely, which isn't a surprise and a relief. Her husband and kids hate me now, and they've been creating all kinds of chaos. Apparently, they see me as the reason their family is suffering financially, even though I'm not the one who failed to meet legal obligations for over a decade. I heard via my grandparents that they've been struggling with all the wage garnishments, and that her husband blames me for the hardship. Apparently, my mom keeps calling them and whining to them that they've ruined her life. I've enrolled in a trade school and I'm also going to enroll in an evening degree program. I'll need to quit my part-time job when that happens, and I'll be using my mom's money when I do. As for my mom, well, she's going to be paying for this for a long time. The interest on the debt is still piling up, and at this rate, it's going to take her years to even come close to paying off the full amount. That's not something I take any joy in, but I can't say I feel bad about it either. Thank you once again for all the well wishes and support, everyone. Story 2. Am I the a-hole for cleaning my son and daughter-in-law's apartment while she was in labor? My daughter-in-law and I have never really gotten along. She has always been cold with me, and I don't know why. She's hard to get to know, but she is good to my older son, and I love her for that. I was surprised when my daughter-in-law got pregnant that she did not want either myself or her own mother present at the birth. That is not how I did things, and I wanted all the support I could get from people I know and trust. Instead, she hired a doula to coach her through. She said it was because a stranger would be less pressure. I didn't understand really, but I accepted it. But I still wanted to support her and my son somehow. When she was in labor, they asked me to feed their dog and cat. I was given a key. When I was in their home, I decided to deep clean the entire apartment. I scrubbed and organized. I changed their sheets. I put away all their clean clothes on the floor and washed, dried, folded, and put away the dirty clothes I found strewn about. I made sure there was no dog or cat hair on the floor. I vacuumed. The apartment was sparkling when I was done. When they came home, they thanked me, but I noticed my daughter-in-law was distant. She kept pulling away more and more over the next few weeks. Even leaving the room when I would visit. She said that it was so she could get a break, but I could tell she was upset or angry. I kept asking my son, her husband, and finally he told me that she thought it was presumptuous and controlling that I cleaned their house. He said he understood that I had good intentions, but he also feels like I made her feel bad. I am flabbergasted. I just wanted to help. I didn't want a new mother to have to clean her whole house when she came home from the hospital. I thought she would be grateful. I am very hurt by her response. My son, who pointed me towards Reddit, thinks I was intrusive. But he thinks other people's perspective could be interesting. I'm willing to try. Am I the a-hole? You're the a-hole. I can see that your intentions were good, but the issue here is that you crossed a boundary that your daughter-in-law didn't consent to. Entering someone's private space and deep cleaning is a very intimate act, especially during such an emotional and vulnerable time as childbirth. It sounds like you wanted to be helpful, but your daughter-in-law didn't ask for that kind of help, and doing it without her permission can feel intrusive and disrespectful. It's understandable that you wanted to do something to help, but it would have been better to ask her or your son how you could support them rather than assuming what they needed. It sounds like your son tried to convey why this upset your daughter-in-law, so it might be worth taking a step back and trying to understand her perspective. Apologizing for overstepping could go a long way. Let her know that you meant well, but realize now that you crossed a boundary and you're willing to respect her wishes in the future. Giving her some space and letting her lead any future interactions might help repair your relationship. Now for some comments. Yeah, you're the a-hole here. Help in the way you were asked to help, not how you want to help. You violated some serious boundaries here. My guess is this isn't the first time you've done something like this, and that's why your daughter-in-law isn't crazy about you. Back off. Stop invalidating their decisions with, "That's not how I would have done it," and respect their space and parental decisions going forward. That's the only way you're going to have a better relationship with them and your grandchild in the future. Yes, you were completely an a-hole. You went in and invaded another couple's personal space without any consideration for their wants or needs. You messed with a new mother's house while she was pushing a baby out of her body. I'm sure she expected to come home from the hospital to find her home the way she wanted it, not the way you thought it should be. You unilaterally changed their space to suit you. She might have given you the cold and distant treatment because she was exhausted from pushing a human out through her genitals. Perhaps she wanted to come home and rest in a comfortable space, and you ruined that for her.